Hi there, this is Amit Bhandari of TalkCondo.com, and today we are at Pinnacle International and we're sitting with the VP of Sales and Marketing, Anson Kwok. Anson, thank you so much for allowing us to chat with you today.
Great, thanks for having me.
Amazing. So, Anson, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, there's a massive development that you guys are working on. But as a summary, the things that I'd like to talk to you about is Pinnacle International, the developer, what sets them apart. And then I'm going to geek out a little bit with you after that because I want to talk about what has changed from a city perspective, because now we're starting to see these super tall towers come to market now. And then after that, I'd like to talk to you about the One Yonge community as a whole, and then drill it down to the Prestige, the very first tower in the community. But before any of that, I'd like to get to know you a little bit more, because you're the VP of Sales and Marketing, but who was Anson Kwok before that? When did you start? Why did you start? And how did you get to become?
Well, actually, I've been with Pinnacle for 9 years now. Okay. So my previous career actually was in the hotel industry. Oh, nice. So I actually worked for Pinnacle's Hotel in Vancouver a long time ago. Wow. But really, it's, for me, a lot of it is very similar. We're doing inventory management. We're making sure we deliver a product that's clean, that's well done, deficient-free to hand over. So there's actually for me, there's a lot of commonalities between the hotel industry and here. Mm-hmm. So you'll see a lot of things like, Pinnacle still believes in larger lobbies, wider hallways, very similar to a hotel kind of feel to it, because that's part of that experience. And that's from the company's experience of having hotels. We have 4 hotels out west in Vancouver, and that's kind of what we've brought to our building condominiums. So, and not to mention in Toronto, I guess, not to mention in Toronto, I've lived here for a while, and I've lived in a condo for the last 14 years. So for me, I have a lot of practical experience of living in condos to bring to the team.
Amazing. So Pinnacle International, obviously they're one of the larger developers in Canada. I mean, portfolios are right across, Toronto, Edmonton, you was mentioned a little bit earlier, Vancouver, obviously, and also San Jose in the States. So what sets Pinnacle apart? What is it about Pinnacle that...
I think, one of our biggest differences is that we're actually very hands-on. So whether it's in Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, or San Diego, we're also our principal is very hands-on. So he works on every project. He still looks at every suite layout. He walks every site. So for us, I think that's kind of a little bit of the difference is that, yes, we scaled up in terms of projects across North America, but we still have that detail to make sure that everything works well and functions properly. And for us, even, give you a quick story, is even we still go back to our buildings from 10, 15 years ago just to walk through. Wow. And a lot of times it's to make sure that our resume is still proud and still looking well, and our buildings are still called Pinnacle, whether it's Pinnacle Living, Pinnacle, one of those. So I mean, we're not leaving. So we still feel very much a part of that community, even though we might have sold it and moved on from it, but we definitely feel quite a big attachment to them.
That's amazing. And then also you have your in-house development company as well, which also sets you apart in a big way.
That's right. So we build our own buildings. So our construction team, our development team, we all work together to do it. We do in-house sales as well. So every floor plan that you see from us, it's actually gone through both the sales and marketing eye, the developer's eye, and the construction eye to make sure that we iron out those kinks and to make sure that things operate. I mean, ultimately, we want to provide a product that's built to last. Right. It needs to be timeless. It's not just it's good today and tomorrow might be a little bit different. So we look at all those aspects, and our construction team's always working to make sure that we're using materials in our design to make sure things last and make sure that they're more durable. Just because there's a lot of things in design that is simple to do to make sure that we take the extra step to make sure that everyone's investment is taken care of.
Amazing. So I'm going to pause on Pinnacle for a moment and talk about the next big project that obviously you're doing. But the project itself, One Yonge, it's a collection of 3 towers, but a couple of very, very large towers. So I'm going to geek out for a little bit because I'm a student of urban geography. I've studied how cities grow, and obviously Toronto as a city has seen a rapid expansion outwards. but now very recently we've started seeing this kind of movement. And obviously with the one Yonge coming out to market with a couple of very, very large towers, what has changed from the city level? Like, why are they started to say, okay, we're okay with sort of these super talls?
Well, I think to start off with, obviously, technology's helped a lot in terms of building buildings to a certain height was always, I think, for the longest time a concern. But I think things have improved a lot over the last 10 years. But also in the city, I think land is a little bit more scarce now. I think we haven't invested as much in transit and in the road network. So a lot of it is to make sure that people can be close to their workplace. And the only way to do it is kind of building vertical communities. We unfortunately can't.
Continually go out.
Yeah, with legislation, we can't really continue to grow out. And I think there's also a tolerance on how much time people can take to commute. And I think we've kind of reached that. So I think a lot of people want to be able to live and work in close proximity. I think there's a modern convenience that people want. But I think it's the changes that, the fear of building high is really not there anymore. And I think we had probably about a 5 or 6 year stretch where every single building was 40 stories. I think, and now it's to really kind of emulate the postcard view of the city is to actually have different heights. I think we've experienced a lot of buildings all looking about the same height, and now it's about creating that variation that really makes the skyline interesting.
Yeah. And it's going to look really cool as well, especially with these super towers. It's literally going to change. Like before, it would be just the spike of the CN Tower, but now we're going to see other peaks.
Which is great. And I think we've done Pinnacle. It's actually kind of interesting. We actually built at one time. Our first building in Vancouver was the tallest building in Vancouver, which is the Pinnacle on Homer Street. And then we actually currently have the tallest residential building in San Diego. So actually, we're looking forward to building the tallest building in Toronto.
A lot of experience then.
Well, I guess in Toronto and in Canada, I guess that would be the tallest. So we're excited to be a part of it, and it's obviously a part of a much broader community, which we're excited to build.
So cool. So we're really excited. So let's bring it back down to One Yonge, the community. And I say community because it's not chock full of residential units. It's multifaceted. There's so many elements. If you could talk to us about everything, because there's so much.
Yeah, I think that's actually what's probably the most interesting about this development, and that's why it's taken so much time in planning. Is that
5 years?
5 years. It's
not
been,
long.
Yeah, it's been pretty. But I think it's with every reiteration, it actually improves it. We've worked really closely with the City of Toronto and Waterfront Toronto, but. It's highlighted by 3 residential towers, 65, 80, and 95 stories. 2 office towers, 35 stories and 22 stories. It has a 50,000 square foot community center.
50,000.
Which is, I think it's really going to add a lot to the neighborhood. It's also, it's going to be run by the City of Toronto, so I think there's a lot of collaboration in that. We're going to be having retail. There's a hotel component and a path network coming through. So it is it's a very I think it's a very complex community, but it's really one of those ones where there is that modern convenience, where there's a lot of accessibility. There is a lot of accessibility to utilize all the services around you without going far.
Yeah, and that's a key thing, because when you're here right now, there's not too much in terms of retail. There's not much of a retail component, like we were saying earlier. Like it's, you can wake up in the morning, do something at 7, but you can also do something at 11 p.m. as well.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a complete community. It cannot just be during work hours. It cannot just be a night place. It needs to be kind of a little bit of everything, because I think that's the demographics of who's living here. You need a little bit for everyone, because unfortunately we don't live in a world that's always 100% conventional in terms of hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to be able to get out of that box, because we're not in that scenario anymore. So it is obviously greatly located. It's close to Union Station, close to the new Go Bus station. So it really has a lot of opportunity to, even if someone
close to the lake.
If someone's commuting somewhere else, it's actually quite close. And we're going to be upgrading the sidewalks, making the public realm a lot more accessible for people to walk, as well as upgrading the bicycle facilities around here. So there's a lot of, there's a little bit for everyone. There's there's walking, biking, transit, and then obviously it's a great place located to Billy Bishop Airport. So if you want to go away on the weekends, it's actually extremely convenient.
Talk to us a little bit more about the community center, because obviously it's going to be run by the city, but 50,000 square foot.
Yeah, it's going to be quite, and I think it's going to be quite interesting because, there's 6 lanes, 25 meter in length pool. So
Wow.
having a community pool really serves a lot of demographics. I think they're going to have classes for teaching young kids how to swim for the first time. You have senior swim. There's a lot of opportunities for in a more controlled environment, which I think sometimes it's a benefit to some of the condominium pools because programming sometimes is lacking, which some people really thrive on. And you're going to have a full-size gym, which means that you can play basketball. And everyone that loves to play basketball and stopped after high school because they couldn't find a gym, well, this is a great place to have the opportunity.
Fantastic. And speak to us a little bit about the path connection, because that's obviously a huge deal as well.
I think the path for us, it's we're really kind of going to be the gateway for the the central waterfront and the lower precinct. It's going to come across Yonge Street. It's going to obviously connect, make our building very permeable. We made sure that even in the first building, Prestige, you can actually exit Prestige on the second floor and actually enter straight into the path network without having to be circuitous in terms of walking downstairs, upstairs, going across.
Yeah.
So I think for us it was really important. There's no point having a path unless it's utilized, and we want to make it as accessible as possible. But really, it's going to open up the East Bayfront.
Absolutely.
Because once we provide those opportunities and those linkages, it really is going to make a big difference. Union Station is not going to feel as far for places like George Brown and Chorus, which right now sometimes might feel a little lonely.
Especially in this weather.
Yeah, it might feel a little lonely.
Yeah,
so
absolutely amazing. So incredible community. It sounds so exciting. The next thing I wanted to drill it down even further and talk about Prestige, which is the first tower in this community, 65 stories. What can you tell us about Prestige?
Well, I think Prestige is obviously our inaugural phase. It's 500 units, and we've put a lot of thought into it. Units range anywhere from 500 square feet all the way to 1,800 square feet. And so we've combined a lot of large units, providing 15% 3-bedroom units, so that there is an opportunity to live here in the waterfront. And because it's the first phase, we're actually building 100,000 square feet of amenities, so both indoor and outdoor, to start off the community. So I think it's really going to benefit everyone that lives in this community. But first phase,
do you think that's enough? Do you think that 100,000 is enough?
That is quite a bit. I would say it'd be hard pressed to find much any more like it. And we're actually going to be adding more when we bring in the other phases. But I think the interesting thing here is that we have our own elevated dog park, dog wash stations. We have an elevated track, an outdoor track for people to, I guess we envision people to be walking on it, running on it, and also have some outdoor exercise equipment. So I think there's going to be a transitional shift, I guess, in this area of what the amenities will be. And then also we're contributing to a park across the street, which will be a close to an acre park. So there's a lot of opportunities for outdoor space. We all know that downtown's transitioning between both families. There is lots of dogs and all that. So we're taking a lot of consideration to all those important factors, because I think we've grown a lot as a city. 10 years ago, we were only talking about daycare. Yeah. And now we got to talk about, where the dog's going to go, where are the kids going to go after daycare. Yeah. I think those are all important things for us to kind of start thinking about. So we have put that thought in the last 5 years, and that's why we've always tried to kind of I guess we've always tried to improve ourselves in terms of creating a product that it's not just for today, but something that's long lasting. It's
incredible. Is there anything that I may have missed and not asked you that we have not covered about One Yonge or the Prestige?
I think for us, there's. I think we're very excited. Obviously, it's a large project. I think Pinnacle One Yonge is really going to be that master plan community that I think you've seen around the world. Yes. I think it's not uncommon to see it in Asia or even in the Middle East, and it's something that it might be a little bit different for Toronto. Yeah. But we're excited to bring that here, because I think you're going to really see the evolution here. And obviously, being One Yonge Street, it's the foot of the longest street in Canada, and right by the lake. There's a lot to it, and obviously we're up for the task of putting a great community here at this great location.
Well, we are incredibly excited. and incredibly thankful as well at the same time to be given this opportunity to work on this amazing project. If we have any clients that are perhaps interested in taking a step further and investing in One Yonge at the Prestige, what would they need to?
Well, I think important thing is obviously talk to the TalkCondo team, so whether Roy or Amit, and really go from there. I think that's really the best starting point to proceed with your team, and then really make this home into a reality.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anson.
You're welcome.
Really looking forward.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for the opportunity.